Hello, my fellow unicorns. Today I'm going to read another story from the Random House Book of Fairy Tales. Today's story is The Real Princess, also known as The Princess in the Pea, by Hans Christian Andersen. There was once a prince, and he wanted a princess, but she had to be a real princess. He traveled through the world to find one, but always something seemed to be wrong. Though many he met claimed to be real princesses, he could never be sure that this was true. At last he returned home, and he was very sad because he wanted a real princess so badly. One evening, a terrible storm came up. Lightning flashed in the sky, and rain tore at the castle walls. It was a dark and fearful night. Then in the midst of the storm, a knock came at the city gates. The old king himself went to open them. A princess stood outside, but the storm had left her in a terrible state. Water streamed from her hair and her clothes. It ran in at the toes of her shoes and out at the heels. But still, she said she was a real princess. Well, we shall soon discover if that is true, thought the old queen, but she said nothing. She went into the bedroom, took all the bedclothes off, and laid a pea on the bottom boards of the bed. Then she took 20 mattresses and piled them on top of the pea, and then she put 20 feather beds on top of the mattresses. This is where the princess was to spend the night. In the morning, the queen, the king, and the prince came into the room and asked the princess how she slept. "Oh, it was dreadful," said the princess. "I hardly closed my eyes the whole night. I don't know what it could have been, but I was lying on something so hard that my whole body is black and blue." Then they saw at once that she must be a real princess, for she had felt the pea through 20 mattresses and 20 feather beds. Nobody but a real princess would have such delicate skin. So the prince took her for a wife, because now he knew he had at last found a real princess. And as for the pea, that was put into a museum, where it still may be seen if no one has taken it. Now, isn't this a real story? I love how short and sweet this story is. We've got the pea here on a pillow, which is on a stand, very ornate stand, and obviously this is not a real story. But I find it funny that a way to tell if someone is a real princess is not by her family, her nobility, her title, but just how high maintenance she is. Which I don't blame them. But I absolutely love this illustration. You have this really beautiful princess in a nice gown, or what would have been a nice gown if it wasn't for the rain. And then the castle and the king receiving her. It's just so enchanting and beautiful. And I like how the door is opening and there's light shining through. But then over here you have the shadows of the night and the storm. It's just so beautiful. And then I also love that the rain goes in diagonally towards the castle. It's just really well done. And the colors too are just so gorgeous. But yeah, I'm surprised that the princess didn't think it was weird to sleep on top of 20 mattresses and 20 feather beds. Because if I was a guest at the castle, I definitely would have thought something's up, you know. I've heard other iterations of this story. The other version is where the prince is searching for a real princess. So they invite all sorts of princesses, and one arrives late from the storm, but everyone is kind of like looking at her like, what? And the mother does the test. The mother queen does the test on all the princesses, and it turns out that she was the only one to complain about sleeping. All the other princesses said, oh, I slept wonderful. You know, they were very polite, very over the top, very complimentary to their hosts. But she was the only one to say, oh, no, I wasn't. I need this and that. And man. And then I think I saw a version like that on HBO Family. It was like an animated series on all these classics, but from different ethnic groups in different parts of the world. It was really interesting. But that version too, they were hosting like a bunch of princesses, and then the one that was late turned out to be the real princess. So there's like several versions of this story, but this is by far the shortest one that I've ever read. So I find that kind of funny. But that's okay, because sometimes the short and sweet stories, you know, they hit the spot. So that's fine with me. That is enough of this story. I'm going to close this and do a little bit of light tapping for you. If you have any ASMR requests, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, I appreciate you guys for watching, and I hope that this video relaxes you. So, good night.